We're all used to our daily checks that we do when we come on shift, but I wanted to take a moment to bring your attention to a couple things that I've noticed that warrant your attention probably, if not every shift, at least, every few shifts. Take a good close look at a few other parts of our safety equipment. On our masks, one of the points of failure is you have this surface here. It needs to stay perfectly flat for our regulator to go into, and what happens sometimes is this piece here kind of pulls out, and sometimes it'll pull all the way out where it's latched on the outside, or it'll just pull out enough where there's kind of a gap here, and that's because there's a latch inside here that's come undone. And what that does is it causes this piece here to protrude past this seal point. And if you notice when you put the MMR on, it has to sit nice and tight, and that when if it's out at all, you can easily get that rubber ring exposed, which means now you've broken your seal and you can get contaminants inside. The other thing is that when you put this mask mounted regulator on, always make sure you give it a good tug when you're going to actually use it, your mask, because if this can easily, you think you have it lashed, it could fall off in the middle of something you're doing, and you could get contaminants in your mask. While we're looking at this MMR, you want to make sure that the opening here is perfectly round and clean inside, and also that this rubber ring is on here. These often get squished indoors or stepped on, or that these can crack. If these are out of round at all, be suspicious of a crack, and if they're out of round at all, send them in to be repaired or at least looked at. The other thing is, on these masks you have these brackets, metal brackets that hold the HUD, and also on the voice amp. These often get bent out so they're U-shape. What that does is it'll actually shorten this piece and cause a pooch in the mask. It'll cause a little wrinkle there that actually will leak around your face. And I've seen a couple failures like that when I'm testing masks that don't pass the leak test. One of the things you can do is, if they're not bent too bad, you can just push really hard with your thumb, straighten that bracket out, and that'll usually alleviate the problem. But if they're worse than that, go ahead and send them in, and we'll get them fixed up for you. Just as a side note, the heads-up display is a required piece of the SCBA. They're required by NFPA, so we can't just take those off and just because we don't like them on our mask. Another thing we should look at occasionally is our transfill adapters. This one here, kind of hard for you to see, but it's really not straight here on the top. It means it's bent. And we've got lots of those in the SCBA room. Lots of those, we're happy to replace those. So if you see any of these bent like this, let's replace them, because they can damage the inside of that connection. And then that's not going to work like you expect it to, or it's going to leak when you go to use it. So also have another one on the gauge here. Want to check and make sure that that's on. Cap is on tight, straight. Make sure you notice if you do, some of the packs don't have this on the gauge. Make sure that you notice if yours has one or not. All of our engines should have those on the gauge, as well as the bell, but all of them will have them on the bell. The other thing is, make sure you've got a hose in here, a transfill hose, and check these attachments here. Some of them snap on, some of them slip over. Make sure that they're well attached and they aren't tearing out of the pouch before you get ready to go on shift and use that pack. That's about it. I just wanted to cover a few things that you may not have thought of or may not have considered when you're doing your morning checks.